The Cherokee tribe of North America had the proverb, "Don't judge a person until you've walked a mile in their shoes." Our programme seeks to understand the work and motivation of someone in society who may not be well known, but whose efforts make a huge difference to the people they support. In this episode, we follow Ben Wilkes, a young fathers worker. We ask him about his work in Romsey Mill. We speak to the director of the organisation and some young fathers themselves. There is often support for young mothers, but what help is there for young fathers?
So Ben's job with Romsey Mill is to be our young fathers worker within our young parents programme. Romsey Mill is the lead provider of support for young parents, teenage mothers and young fathers in Cambridge City and the surrounding area of South Cambridgeshire. And Ben is a one-of-a-kind fathers worker.
How would I describe Ben's job? Ben supports fathers in Cambridge City and South Cambs 25 and under, and his role is so important. It's quite unique actually. There's no other fathers work support in the same way that Ben provides in the county. So his role is really there to provide support for first time or second time fathers, or even those with children who've had children for longer.
Ben is successful in his work because he has a lovely blend of good skills and experience, good knowledge, and the right character and temperament to engage with young fathers and other young parents.
So I do a lot of one-to-one work with young fathers, meeting them, say, here at the centre, or meet them out for a cup of coffee, or go to a golf driving range. And I have a menu that I show them, and they tick off the list what sort of things they'd like help with. So the sort of things I offer are confidence being a young man, confidence being a father, knowledge of how to look after a child or a baby. Also things if they're having problems with contact with their children, I help them, support them with that. And ultimately hoping them to engage best in the process so that they get the best out of it. And the overarching theme really is to help them to become the best fathers that they're able to be.
You can't do this job if you don't care about people. You can't do this job if you don't want to make a difference to people's lives. And I think that is exactly what Ben's like. He cares about the individual. He's so non-judgmental, and he looks at everybody individually.
So when we actually found out that we were having a child, it was kind of a shock, but at the same time I was very happy. So yeah, I mean, I was very young. I was only 16 years old at the time, so of course you would be shocked. And I think the thing I was worried about the most was just telling my parents. So yeah, but obviously when I did tell them, they did understand, and they were very supportive of me. So I think that made life a lot easier.
So I met Sam when he was referred in, and he was a father already. He had had a child, and he then subsequently split from his partner. And he was having problems with contact with his child.
So yeah, later on in her pregnancy, I think we started sort of, I don't know, like kind of falling apart. We were both very stressed. We had a lot of mixed emotions, and then there was a lot of family members who were quite involved. And I think that we just needed to sort of be a little bit more independent. So yeah, I just think at the time it wasn't really the right time.
So he came to me, I met with him one-to-one and supported him through the process of negotiating contact with his child, supporting him with other issues that he had, and also did some fun things. So at that point I did a young fathers group, which was exclusively for young fathers. So he came to that and brought his daughter there. We also went swimming, and he came to that with his child, did certain activities, and he came to the boxing as well.
I actually found out about Ben through a friend of my mum's. He was basically, he was part of one of the boxing groups that we do here at Romsey Mill. And he basically just asked me whether I wanted to come along, if I wanted to basically get involved with some physical sport. So I actually attended that for the first time, and that's where I met Ben.
It depends on who's on my caseload at any one time, but more recently boxing has been very popular and golf has as well. With the boxing, the reason I do that is because it's a physical activity, it's a controlled sport, so it's teaching them how to use their energy in a controlled way. And with the boxing course, we meet for an hour beforehand and we'll discuss such things as emotional regulation, like I mentioned before, you know, how they deal with their emotions. Because I think as a father, it can bring up lots of things from their past or what they've experienced. And it's a chance to discuss those things in a safe environment, and then in a practical way. Some say it's really useful to get their anger out using the boxing pads.
Elbows in, tuck them in, both ways, both ways, in and out, boom, 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 back, and back, and back. Keep going now, keep that.
Today we're just doing a bit of boxing training. Haven't been in a while, but I've just come back to have a little go. Well, basically my first child that I had was, I didn't know anything about him. A couple of days after he was born, I got contacted by my mum to let me know, obviously, that I'd had a son. And so at first everything was a bit of a big shock, didn't really know how to handle it. And I went through a lot of different emotional states, and coming to Romsey Mill, it just sort of tried to help me figure out where I was as a person, as a dad, and just help me move on with like just life. This is my life now, and Ben specifically has helped me to get on with just being a dad in general.
Who's the number one team? Keep banging the shots out, keep banging them out, one at a time. Let a ribbon go now, boys.
I don't really get much time to do any other exercise, so coming to boxing's a way to try and get that bit of needed exercise in. I suppose it helps me get rid of a lot of stress that I have. If I'm honest, it just helps me get it all out from day-to-day life.
There's always a story behind someone's behaviour or the way they are or what they've done in the past. I think sometimes you can't ignore what they've done, but I don't think people should be judged for just purely on that. I think the young fathers I work with, they sometimes have had a lot go on in their past, and I think they see being a father, becoming a father, as a new start for them often. And I think it's right that as I meet them for the first time, it's looking to their future, helping them to become the best father that they can be. And if I was to judge them on that, then I don't think that would be fair, and I wouldn't be working with them, you know, in the best way I could.
Young fathers are often seen as the ones that have got the young couple in this situation in the first place. They're the ones that are predominantly responsible for the pregnancy and etc. etc. Quite often there might be some negative connotations towards the young fathers as well, particularly if they've got some difficulties and challenges that they face as far as maybe anger management or just trying to deal with things in their own life and that sort of thing. So I think quite often they're seen in that light, and yeah, mothers are seen as the sort of victims, as it were, in that situation.
So Romsey Mill established our Young Fathers work as part of our Young Parents programme some 10 years ago. The actual Young Parents programme has been running for over 15 years, but it was about 10 years ago that we recognised how important it was to provide the same support for young fathers as we do for young mothers.
Quite often you find in children's centres and that sort of thing, the young fathers are welcome to those sort of things, but they tend to be more mother orientated. They're run by women, predominantly the women are there. They're seen by young fathers, I think, as women's places to go to, and I think they feel a bit intimidated to go to there. So for the young fathers to have a place where they can go specifically for them and get the skills and the confidence and meet other young fathers, I think that's an important part of the project, is that they actually get a lot out of just meeting other people who are in the same boat and learning from each other and gaining support from each other.
We looked at young fathers 25 and under because we often found that young mothers had partners that were older, so to increase the age range for fathers would be good. That's not always the case, but in majority of the cases, the majority of fathers we're working are maybe 19, 20, so a little bit older. So we felt that there was a real need to provide support not only to mothers, but to young fathers as well. It's unique in the county. There isn't anybody doing anything like this, a full-time father's work supported role for fathers 25 and under in Cambridgeshire.
I feel like this role enables me to invest in young fathers' futures and their children and their families. I think it can often be a ripple effect when you see a young father have contact for the first time in 6 months and you've been a part of that process. That gives a great feeling and a great satisfaction to my work.
Young fathers in particular have less emphasis on support factors, but organisations such as Romsey Mill help them in a time of need. However, sadly, Ben is the only specifically assigned young fathers worker in the whole of Cambridgeshire, and there are not many in the UK. Despite its importance, this aspect of society is invisible and needs more of the spotlight if it is to continue in succeeding. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Janine, and this has been A Mile in Your Shoes.